I'm here. Thanks for joining me for this instant hangout. I'm going to be doing more of these Cult of Sam Harris hangouts. Uh, Actually, people can join right now. No one really knows about them, but I am going to be doing on a daily basis, pretty much, or at least 5 days a week, 4 days a week, several times a week. I did one yesterday. It went okay. Got some great comments. It was about the Cosby case. And so I want to continue that conversation a little bit, but I'm also looking at it um, to try to look at one of the subjects was a matter of justice. See, I have a sleepy eye. Bad timing. Um, so the thing with justice that, and people write, one of the comments was that I was disregarding deterrence. I was disregarding other qualities of punishment, and I know they're there, um, but it's the price we pay for those things. We have to remember that for any value we value, there's a price. And I do take kind of an economic look at ethics from the sense of what is a cost. Can we equate it to what is a cost to society? What is a cost to an individual? And I'm still working on that particular theory, and it is in many ways contrary to Harris's position in the moral landscape. He really comes from an authoritarian, I believe, perspective, which is very religious. And it's interesting that we disagree on that. And it was sort of a recent disagreement on that in my own mind. I was like, well, I don't think that's going to work. And there's some reasons why, but I don't want to get too far into that yet. But that's what I'm working on behind the scenes is that ethic and trying to work it out to see if it works from a practical standpoint. So a lot of these ideas that I'm presenting are based on that theory that I'm working on. And one of the principles is harm. And so what I was getting at is seeking the justice, what we see as a justice for Bill Cosby, causing more harm to society, to individuals, however you want to look at it, in terms of setting a future precedent. Um, Now, whether we can actually know the truth is an interesting question, and a commenter pointed out that there might be a way to statistically say that it's very likely that he did do this or he did some manner of this. Now, and that's kind of where the problem lies in this particular case, in terms of the Cosby case, is that I am suspicious that there was sexual activity of some kind that occurred. Whether it was consensual or not, that's sort of an open question. So I would say that the statistical analysis would probably get us to the point of something happened, but I don't know they could say that there was anything in terms of inappropriate happened. Um, to what level the women would be lying in order for that to be true, that would be a statistical analysis. We might be able to determine what part of their story is a lie or what part of the story just isn't quite right. And you can do a part of that with statistical analysis, but I would like to see a really good personality profile for all the women. I would like to see phone records, email exchanges, and all kinds of information to just back up the personality that we are dealing with. And a lot of times, certain types of personality, such as a borderline personality, would fit the profile. Cosby has had a lot of contact with a lot of people. He's in a specific position. Is it unusual to have 18 accusers? Is it unusual to pay off so your sexual promiscuity doesn't become a matter of public discourse? And I think that's part of the problem is people are just assuming, well, if he paid someone off, therefore he must be guilty of something. He probably doesn't want to air his dirty laundry. And that's the primary reason. But then you could also ask the person accusing him, why didn't she go and prove it in court, meaning make it an open instead of a closed settlement? And that goes towards the veracity of the women in terms of what their motives were in terms of going after Cosby. So I think it cuts both ways. I don't think you can say it proves one case or the other case. It's just a matter, one of the variables that you have to put into play. And because of that variable, because of things we do know about his sexual past, it's very likely sexual contact occurred. But in what frame, it's an open question. And I don't know, you could statistically tease it out. You might be able to, but I think it's more complicated than people actually realize. The other interesting thing you can ask, and this isn't particularly talked about, and we kind of already know the type of profile that Cosby would fit into in terms of a rapist. It would be control issues. So we could see if he fits those profiles in all these cases, and there's some, and they would have to fit. And that's really the only thing that we would want to see in terms of all of the allegations, would be that they fit that profile. And some of them kind of have some interesting details that may speak of a deeper event. And one of those was the $200 Cosby was supposedly put on the bedside or whatever, ever in one of the cases. And I didn't look it up. I could have, but it was kind of time consuming. I believe it was the lawyer who is one of the main accusers. It could have been another one. But the point about it that sort of struck me is details like that tell us a story. Tell us a story about Cosby's state of mind as well as the state of mind of the women. So in this particular instance, she was insulted by the fact that he treated her like a prostitute, or thought that what he did was the same as being a prostitute. To me, it says there's a deeper story there. I mean, I don't know the whole context, and none of us really know the whole context. It's too simple. It's too simple of a story. There's too much of the details are missing in that story. And like I said, I suspect there is a lot of contact. And that would be the first thing that we'd want to make sure of, is that they actually did contact, that there definitely was contact with with Cosby. I mean, that'd be one thing you want to bring to make sure it actually occurred. So one thing I'm looking at is getting a little more organized with this particular subject. So I will put a subject matter in the subject heading, and I'll also put EP for extemporaneous. Trying to learn to say that word. For some reason, it's a really hard one for me. And so I'm going to organize a little more, and I do always appreciate comments. The comments I've received are absolutely awesome. I think I have some of the best comments on the internet as far as I'm concerned. So I do encourage that. And remember, this is a discussion. I'm not trying to prove something to you. I'm very capable of being wrong. In fact, I think it's one of the things we all need to kind of get to grips with, is we don't like being wrong. We oppose the whole idea of being wrong. And so when someone said to me, hey, maybe we could prove this statistically, I said, actually you probably might be able to, but I really want to see the math. I mean, I could definitely be proven wrong. We could know beyond reasonable doubt, but it would be interesting to see the statistics, and I would really like to see someone do it to see what it looks like. And then we could talk about those specific statistics. But at this point, it's just hypothetical that you could do it. And so we really would need to see more data. Can you really tease out with the information that we have what actually happened, or close enough to what happened that we know that there was actually a crime committed. But to go back on the original video of yesterday, it's the harm that is done. Are we doing more harm by doing this? I mean, the harm's already been done to his reputation, et cetera, et cetera. So these are questions that I like to ask, just to know, is the truth worth the investigation and I mean, should we be trying people in the public like this? I mean, how are we going to do this in the future? Where are we going with this? And what social media is doing is vetting these issues in a very quick and very haphazard kind of way, but there may be something to it. So I'm open to any kind of future perspective on how the social media can actually work to make this a more effective means of getting to the truth. I mean, one thing about the legal system is it's very slow, and in fact, it's too slow to be effective and to be corrective. It's very unfortunate. People don't understand a very primary theory in education is speed is a major factor. Feedback. You want a quick feedback process. So if you really want to be corrective, if you really want to help society and really make things seem fair, the faster you can pronounce judgment, the faster you can actually get to a resolution, the better for everyone involved. But there's a downside of getting it wrong. So those are things you need to balance it with. Anyways, this has been a little too long, and I will give you more updates later, but thanks for watching. I hope this helped for those people that had the questions in the comments. I'm sorry I didn't comment directly, but I was getting a little overwhelmed because it's pretty detailed stuff that we can get into.